what if the real reason you're not wealthy has nothing to do with how hard you work? Every day, your own mind is silently working against you, sabotaging your financial future without you even realizing it. The thoughts and beliefs about money programmed into you since childhood are keeping you trapped in a financial prison of your own making. In this video, we'll expose the hidden mental traps that are stealing your wealth right now and reveal why the richest people think completely differently about money. Stay until the end to discover the one toxic money belief that 93% of people have, a belief that might be costing you thousands every single year. We don't enter this world with financial beliefs, we inherit them, and yet these inherited patterns shape our entire relationship with money. Think about your earliest money memory. Perhaps it was watching your parents argue about bills, or hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy." These experiences aren't just memories, they're the foundation of your financial operating system. In my analysis of research from the University of Cambridge, I was able to discover that most money habits appear to be formed by the age of 7. By the time we're adults, these subconscious patterns run on autopilot. The child who grew up in scarcity often becomes an adult who hoards money, unable to enjoy their wealth. The child who witnessed financial chaos may become an adult who subconsciously creates money drama. Consider this. When lottery winners suddenly receive millions, 70% go bankrupt within 5 years. Their sudden wealth doesn't match their internal money blueprint, creating psychological discomfort their mind resolves by returning to familiar financial territory, even if that means self-sabotage. Financial psychologists who work with high net worth individuals have observed this pattern repeatedly. As Dr. Sarah Martinez explains, most people are in the belief that money problems are solved with more money. However, wealth without psychological preparation is like pouring water into a bucket with holes. The real work is identifying and patching those holes, the limiting beliefs and emotional triggers around money. Your financial reality today isn't just the result of your income or investment choices. It's largely determined by the money blueprint programmed into you decades ago. But here's the crucial insight. Once recognized, this blueprint can be rewritten. In my research, I discovered groundbreaking work published in 2015 by researchers at Princeton on what they called the scarcity mindset. They found that when people feel resources are scarce, their brain physically changes how it functions. In my analysis of their experiments, I saw that participants experiencing scarcity, whether artificially induced in the lab or real-world financial stress, showed diminished cognitive capacity. Their working memory decreased and their ability to make good long-term decisions was impaired. Most surprisingly, their IQ scores temporarily dropped by an average of 13 points, roughly the cognitive impact of losing an entire night's sleep. This explains a frustrating paradox I've observed. Those who most need to make good financial decisions often find it hardest to do so. Their minds, preoccupied with immediate scarcity, simply cannot allocate mental bandwidth to long-term planning. Scarcity doesn't just affect the obviously poor. Many outwardly successful people live in a constant state of perceived scarcity. The executive earning 6 figures who still feels she doesn't have enough. The entrepreneur who can't enjoy today's success because he's fixated on competitors who have more. This scarcity mindset manifests in specific wealth sabotaging behaviors. Tunneling, where people become so focused on immediate financial needs that they ignore crucial long-term opportunities. Opportunity cost neglect, making impulsive financial decisions without considering what's been given up. And bandwidth poverty, having so many financial worries that there's no mental space left for strategic money moves. Consider how the scarcity trap operated during the 2008 financial crisis. Those who panicked and sold investments at market lows locked in permanent losses, while those who maintained abundance thinking saw the downturn as an opportunity and invested more. In my studies of the wealthiest individuals, I've noticed a striking characteristic. They operate from abundance even when external circumstances suggest scarcity. They've trained their minds to see possibilities rather than limitations, a psychological advantage that compounds over time. In my study of wealth psychology, I was fascinated by research from 1974, when economist Richard Easterlin published findings on what became known as the Easterlin paradox. Beyond a certain threshold, additional income doesn't increase happiness. More recent studies I've analysed place this threshold around $75,000 to $95,000 annually in the US. Beyond this point, additional money provides diminishing emotional returns. Yet many of us behave as if the opposite were true, constantly chasing higher income and status markers, caught on what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, where we quickly adapt to new levels of prosperity, return to our happiness baseline, and then require even more to feel satisfied. This treadmill is accelerated by modern social media, where we're constantly exposed to curated displays of others' wealth. In my examination of neuroscience research, I found that these comparisons trigger the same brain regions as physical pain. The result is status anxiety, a persistent fear that our position in society isn't secure or respected. Consider the case of tech executives earning over $300,000 annually who still describe themselves as financially stressed. Analysis reveals a stark truth. Their financial stress isn't about lacking resources, it's about social comparison, living in wealthy tech hubs, surrounded by even richer colleagues and neighbours. These individuals constantly feel behind despite being in the top 2% of earners globally. The most insidious aspect of status anxiety is how it drives what economist Thorstein Veblen called conspicuous consumption, spending designed not for utility or enjoyment, but to signal social position. This creates a financial cage where people work jobs they dislike to afford possessions. They don't need to impress people they don't care about. True wealth psychology requires breaking this cycle. In my research on life satisfaction millionaires, people who report extreme happiness regardless of income, I discovered they share a common trait. They've opted out of status competition entirely, defining success by internal rather than comparative metrics. Here's what 93% of people get fundamentally wrong about wealth. They confuse ownership with freedom. We're culturally programmed to believe that owning more, bigger homes, newer cars, more possessions equals greater freedom. The reality is often the opposite. Each possession doesn't just cost money to acquire, it demands ongoing mental and financial resources. This is what I call the ownership paradox. Beyond a certain point, the things you own begin to own you. Consider home ownership, the cornerstone of the traditional American dream. In my analysis of a Stanford University study, I found that homeowners in declining markets experience significantly lower mobility than renters. They become trapped by their real estate, unable to pursue career opportunities elsewhere. Their supposed asset becomes a liability, restricting rather than expanding their options. The wealthiest individuals I've studied approach ownership differently. They evaluate possessions not by social status or emotional attachment, but by asking, does this asset expand or constrain my freedom? They recognize that true financial freedom isn't about maximizing what you own, it's about optimizing what you control while minimizing what controls you. This principle extends beyond physical possessions to time commitments, business models, and even relationships. Each represents a form of ownership that can either expand or limit your autonomy. The breakthrough comes when you begin evaluating wealth not by the traditional metric of net worth, but by a more meaningful measure I call freedom worth, the degree to which your financial choices expand your autonomy rather than restricting it. The single most dangerous belief that's likely costing you thousands each year is this: equating ownership with freedom and success. By shifting from an acquisition mindset to an optionality mindset, prioritizing choices and flexibility over possession and status, you can transform your financial trajectory while experiencing greater present moment satisfaction. Throughout my investigation, I've uncovered how our minds often work against our financial interests through inherited money blueprints, scarcity thinking, status anxiety, and the ownership paradox. The path forward isn't about willpower or more financial information. Most people don't need another budget template or investment tip. They need psychological realignment. In my research with wealth psychology, experts and high net worth individuals who've overcome these mental traps, I found several practical steps for rewiring wealth psychology. First, conduct a money memory audit. Identify your earliest and most emotionally charged money memories. For each, reflect on what message it taught you about finances. Then ask whether this belief is serving or sabotaging your financial goals today. Second, practice abundance thinking daily. Spending just 2 minutes each day imagining opportunities rather than limitations can literally rewire neural pathways over time, according to neuroplasticity research. Third, calculate your freedom worth. For each major possession or commitment in your life, consider how much it enhances or restricts your freedom. The exercise reveals which assets truly serve your larger goals and which merely create the illusion of wealth while restricting actual autonomy. The ultimate insight about wealth psychology is this: financial freedom isn't primarily a number in your bank account. It's a state of mind that anyone can develop, regardless of their current situation. By addressing the psychological patterns I've explored today, you aren't just improving your financial future, you're enhancing your experience of life in the present moment. If you found value in this analysis, subscribe for my upcoming investigation into how technology platforms are redesigning themselves around behavioral psychology to capture and monetize your attention. I'm Jack from the Millionaire Institution, and it's been my pleasure to share these insights with you today. Until next time, remember, the quality of your financial decisions is only as good as the psychological foundation they're built upon.